Buying a Home in the DMV, Episode 2. Welcome to Homes for Sale or Rent in the DMV, where we empower citizens to tackle their debts, increase their credit scores, and find the home of their dreams. Stand with us as we interview professionals and buyers who have already completed the process to help you increase your knowledge and share invaluable secrets so you can finally achieve the goal you've always wanted. Be prepared to get inspired and take massive action so you can be the next to buy a home in the DMV. Hello, everyone. We are here today with Mr. Jim Delgado, home inspector. He covers the Washington, D.C. and Maryland areas. So he's here to share a whole lot of value with us, a whole lot of wealth of knowledge. And trust me, he's got plenty, and I think you'll agree once we get done. But Jim, before we get started, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Jim Delgado, naturally, because I am. And I'm a retired D.C. building inspector. And most of the time when I was in DC government as a building inspector, my specialty was consumer fraud in construction, building collapses, injuries, death, landlord-tenant cases, and such. And as I retired, I was, I think my last 5 years with DC government, I was assigned strictly with the Metropolitan Police Department, going into communities, closing down crack houses, abandoned buildings, and such like that. Many of my inspections, required taking kids out of bad situations, taking the elderly out of bad situations, and all of the information or all that knowledge that I had and my passion as a building inspector, I bring it into home inspections. So it's the same thing except different audience.
Wow, that's impressive, first of all. And it sounds like you definitely look out for a lot of people, and you've certainly helped a lot of people along the way. And I'm sure as we get further in the interview, people will start to see that very clearly. Now, before we jump into the questions, Jim, I always like to ask, what is your favorite quote and why?
When I first started into home inspection, my business card read, "Helping you get home." I wanted to get a nice quote where, you read a card and you go like, "Helping you get home." Hey, gee, that's nice. He's helping us get home. As the years went on, I started realizing some of the shenanigans that occurs out there in the industry. Sometimes and I'm not saying that this is widespread. I'm just saying that there's a few selected individuals out there where you find a collusion between home inspectors and real estate agents trying to make the deal happen at the expense of the buyer. Now, the more educated the buyer is, the less likely they're going to work that way. The more educated the buyer is, they're less likely to get, abused that way. Yeah. And the less educated the client may seem, the more likely they're going to be abused. And what I find is there's a lot of things going on, especially within low to moderate income families buying homes. And so there was a point where I sort of personally, I got angry one day and I stripped off the "helping you get home" phrase on my business card, and I changed it to "ensuring your right to know." I've gone radical.
So ensuring your right to know.
Ensuring your right to know. Buyer has the right to know what they're getting into. When I have an inspection, I always tell my client, when I'm finished with this inspection, there's two things that you're going to have. You're going to know the condition of the property. You're going to know what you're walking into. Okay. And if you know the condition and you know what you're walking into, you can make a family decision to buy or not to buy.
Yes. So
that's basically why I changed it to "ensuring your right to know."
Very good. And a very powerful statement, I feel, behind changing that statement, right? You do see people get taken advantage of quite often, right? We've had the financial crisis.
Well, there are three things in life. First of all, it's food, clothing, and shelter.
Yes.
Right? That's how we exist: food, clothing, and shelter. You're going to go to the store, you look at the food, you know what to buy, what not to buy. You can tell bad meat from good meat, hopefully. All right? Okay, clothing. You know the value of clothing. You know what you're willing to spend. Not why? Because you're an educated person. You know that I'm not going to buy that, or I will buy that, etc. But when it comes to shelter, You release all your rights of knowledge to all these people, and you hope that somebody in this crowd, and I'm talking about the loan officer, the appraiser, the real estate agent, the home inspector, the termite person, the whatever, but there's not one person in that line that says, hey, I'm here to watch your back.
Right.
So what I tell my clients is, you know, you got a good agent or a home inspector when that person is feeding you a ton of information, helping you shape the decision you have to make.
Right.
When certain people would come up to you and say, oh, I'm not a structural engineer, I can't make comments on that. Or, hey, I'm a real estate agent, I can't make comments on that. Then they're not really helping you.
Right.
I know of an agent one day who goes around and says, she'll look at a house that a buyer is interested in, and she'll look around, she'll say, Jim's not going to like this. Let's go to a different place. I mean, she knows me that well.
Right.
And what she's also doing is, by telling the buyer, come on, let's go someplace else, she's basically telling the buyer, this ain't your house.
Right.
You have somebody who feeds you information to help you make a decision. That's the person watching your back.
Right.
Be leery of the person that stands back and says, oh, I don't know, it's not my job, or I don't know, we have to find somebody, or they're very casual about the information that they give you.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And I think that's a major part of business, right? Is to actually educate your client, no matter what type of business it is. You always want to make sure that your client knows what they're getting themselves into, knowing what the experience is going to be. And so that whenever they get done with that experience, they don't have buyer's remorse. Right?
Not only that, but with everything that goes on out here, everybody wants to make a quick buck selling houses. Oh, and you get all these classes, oh, buy property, make $1 million, etc.
Right.
You got a good person whose intention is to protect you in the process, not simply to say, I'm sticking to my knitting, to my knitting. This is all I do. I got blinders on. I can't tell. For example, here's an example. Here's a really good example.
Okay.
Client comes up to me and says, my brother says I should call you and walk through this property before buying it. And I said, well, do you have a contract? And he goes, yeah. And I looked at the building, and the building had an address on it. And the address is, let's say, whatever that is, A, in the same address, but a B.
Okay.
So that tells me that it's a 2-family unit.
Right.
So I said, oh, is that a basement unit down there? Agent. Yes, but we're selling it as a single-family home. I said, wait, yeah, okay, but let me ask you, is there a basement unit? No? Oh, no. Well, there is a unit there, but we're selling it as a single-family home. I said, okay. Can you get to the basement from the main level? No, you got to go outside and come around and get in the basement. So you're telling me that the basement is separated from the top? Yes. I said, you may have a problem with appraisal. What do you mean? I said, well, an appraiser comes. I've seen this happen before, where appraiser comes, he sees 2 units. If he can't get down to the basement, they only appraise the top level. They won't appraise the basement. So that's going to affect it. And then I turned to the client and I said, but don't worry, because here he is selling it for $1.3 million. This is in Adams Morgan. I said, he's selling it for $1.3 million. I said, he's not going to appraise, and you're going to get out, Yeah. He says to me, well, I don't have an appraisal contingency.
Ooh.
Okay. Well, then when the bank finds out, they're not going to lend you the money because they have to go with the appraisal value.
Yep.
And he goes, well, I don't have a financing contingency.
Oh, no.
How much money did you put down?
Right.
I put down $60,000. I said, sir, if this man does not get his asking price and he takes the house off the market, I think your $60,000 is at risk here.
Yeah. Here's
a dangerous question he asked. He turns to his agent and says, is that true? And the agent said to me, okay, you're now getting into my field. I said, no. Answer the question. Answer the question. And the agent says, the way that we have it all set up, if you don't go through with this deal, you lose the $60,000.
Wow.
The guy flips out.
Yeah.
Lucky for him, somebody outbidded him.
Oh.
And he got out.
Right.
I meet him later on at another house, and his wife was there. And she was like, I can't thank you enough for what you did, blah, blah, blah. And they ended up buying something more modest, but more better suited for them and their family.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Wow. Well, again, it's unfortunate that a lot of those things happen, but lucky for that guy. All right. So Jim, we know you've and we may have already covered this, but you started off as a building inspector, right?
With DC. I retired
DC.
as a building inspector with
Right.
DC,
And
and
then
I
you got
walked
into
into a home inspection.
right.
Correct.
So my next question was, what made you become a home inspector? I know you
Okay, I got to quit. That's a good question. All right. So I'm a building inspector at the time. A lady calls me up and she says, I have an odor in my house and my neighbors are all complaining. So I go to the house and the odor was very strong. And I told her, I said, you have a sewer smell. And I said, do you have a problem with the sewer system? And she says, no. And I said, okay, well, where's your crawl space? And she says, we don't have one. I said, oh, yes, you do. She goes, no, I don't. I said, ma'am, there's a crawl space. She goes, no. So then I tell the husband that whoever sold her the building, they renovated it. So they put a half bath underneath the staircase.
Right.
And I said, I bet you if you open up the tile floor, you're going to find a hatch. That hatch leads to the crawl space.
Right.
Now, the sewer smell was horrendous.
Oh.
It was horrendous. And so the husband cuts the tile, calls me back. I get there. I lift up the darn thing. And down in there, almost 8 inches deep, 15 feet wide, 30 feet long, raw sewage.
Come on.
I put my mask on, I close up, put plastic gloves on and stuff. I go in there, and what happened is when they were flipping the house, the plumber was angry with the contractor and he broke the sewer line and then he plugged the other one so that every time these people either flushed the toilet, took a shower, used the sink, in the kitchen, etc., everything was dumping underneath the house.
Goodness.
So I called the owner up. And I said, hey, and he said, well, we already went to the closing. They had a home inspection. A home inspection? She goes, yeah. And I said, well, sir, you did the renovations. You didn't pull permits. I'm going after you.
Yeah.
And so his lawyer called me. He ended up doing a hazardous waste cleanup for the entire house in lieu of me backing off. I mean, you had to understand me as a city inspector. You would understand why you want to back off. Then another time, this other person called me and said, I bought this house. I go back there and they said, we had a home inspection. I said, you mean a building inspector? I mean, one of our building inspectors? She goes, no. A housing inspector? She goes, no, a home inspector. What the heck is a home inspector? So then I start learning about this. And then as I'm getting ready to retire, I took early out of the government, I thought, gee, well, why don't I pick up a part-time job and see what this is all about? And by that time also, other people were saying, oh, you ought to get a home inspection. You ought to get a home inspection. Yeah. And when I started doing home inspections, I realized then what was going on. And I was stunned by this early on. This is in the Anacostia area where, and this is a true case, where this one lady is crying. She was in an abusive relationship. She's got kids. She's trying to find a home, blah, blah, blah. And this is the 5th house we're looking at for her.
Okay.
Back then, there was practically no control. And this is an HPAP client.
Yeah.
There was no control. And I kept on telling her, I said, who is flipping these properties? They're doing it like really bad.
Yeah.
The agent said to me, you have to learn that in this business, you can make a lot of money. If you scratch my back, I can scratch your back.
Oh, no.
I looked at her and I said, my back doesn't itch.
Right.
This person put the word out, and I started getting calls from other agents saying to me that we can't use you because if we go to her listings with you, she's not going to honor our contracts.
Wow.
So at that point, I realized that I'm going to get stuck, meaning I'm not going to be able to do this business because if the word is out not to use me, what the heck am I going to do?
Right.
So I got a little bit upset and I said, you know what? I called the Washington Post in 2003 They did an interview, and if anybody's caring to see, Google the story, who inspects the inspectors.
Okay.
I won't say much about the story, just read it. So after that, I was telling my wife that, I got to think of something else to do because I'm blackballed out of the industry.
Right.
But then the calls started coming in. Are you the guy in the paper? You the guy in the paper? You the guy in the paper? And I realized then that, wait a minute, I may have tripped on something here. And I started advocating on behalf and very loudly about that for home buyers. And when I go to these home buying meetings, people talk about how do I buy a home type seminars. I try to tell them, how do you hire an inspector? And a lot of folks don't understand that even though all home inspectors do the same technical, inspection,
Right.
not all have the same level of service.
Right.
If you talk to some inspectors out there, they'll say, I inspect for apparent conditions only, meaning if I see it, I'll call it. If I don't, I can't call it. So there are times that you have to speculate that a problem exists. Because, for example, if under all conditions on the earth, if A plus B will always equal C, no matter what, you see C, you see A, know that B exists.
Right.
C cannot exist without A plus B. Now, when I write an exploit, when I'm talking about speculating, I'm saying B is there.
Right.
And this is where I get the biggest kickback. Well, you can't see it. I don't need to see it. It's like this one, I pulled up to this one house one time, and I was across the street, and they said, oh, Jim, hi, we're over here. And I said, okay, we're done. Ha, ha, ha. And I said, no, we're done. They said, you've been here before? I said, no, but we're done.
Right.
And she goes, well, what do you mean? I said, come over here. Now, to get to the front door, I'm on the sidewalk. To get on the front door, you got to go down this little hill to the front door. Okay?
Yep.
The back of the house has a hill.
Right.
Behind it, up top of the hill, are all these houses with the downspouts pointing down.
Yes.
Okay. We're standing right there, and I said, look to your right. You're like, where does that street go? It goes up there. Look to your left. Where does that street go? Oh, it goes up there. I said, and where are you? They go, oh my God. I said, right. You're at the bottom of a bucket. You're holding a hell of a lot of water. Here's what the agent said to me. Well, I think I think you're scaring my clients. And they have 3 sub pumps in the basement. They got 3 sub pumps in the basement? He goes, yeah, okay, let's go.
Exactly.
So, anyway.
Yeah.
That's basically how it all started, I guess.
Well, that's a really great story. And that's really funny. You read a lot of self-help books, and a lot of times they'll say if you use, your past, so to speak, to guide your future, it almost like naturally gravitated into home inspection, where you just sort of saw what was going on, and then you're like, yeah, they need me here. Right.
It's interesting that you said that because, like, I did an inspection one time, and I still have this agent in my mind, and I hope one day to call him. And this happened many years ago. But when I was doing an inspection, they were selling an illegal bedroom in this house. And I try to tell these people, if there's a fire, you can't get out.
Okay.
You're trapped. And this is how people die. The agent comes up to me and he says, I don't need you to be wearing your government hat. I need you to wear your home inspector's hat. I looked at the guy and I said, but it's an illegal bedroom. I said, it's a fire trap. And he got really royally mad at me. And then he excused me out of the house. So, yes, what the value of being a home inspector is that you can see far more than somebody who comes into a home inspection industry with a single background. Like maybe you're a contractor and you become a home inspector.
Right.
Or maybe you used to be a developer. Or maybe you were an insurance guy, you thought this was a great deal and you went in there.
Right.
when you get somebody who has almost 10 years of investigative experience dealing with buildings that fall, people that die, carbon monoxide, I did a case one time where I found perchloroethylene. This is as a city inspector. I found perchloroethylene on the second floor. Everybody in the government argued with me. Perchloroethylene cannot climb 2 stories. The heavy vapor stays low. 11 people were taken to the hospital with carbon monoxide. I'm talking about infants to adults.
Okay.
I found how the perchloroethylene got up there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you have that background and you go into a house as a home inspector, you look around and you say to yourself, this is an illegal flip.
Right.
2 days ago, I walk in. How many bedrooms are they selling you? We're selling you 5 bedrooms. Where are the bedrooms? There's 2 downstairs, 1 upstairs, 2 in the basement. Let's go to the basement. You need 7 feet.
Mm-hmm.
This is 6'3".
Okay.
You need a 5.7 square feet window to get out in the event of an emergency, or if you needed to be rescued.
Right.
The window was a little tiny one. So I closed the door and I told the client, I said, okay, there's a fire outside. You can't get out the door. Where are you going to go? And don't look at the window. So, yeah, yes, I'm a home, my background as a building inspector only enhances my ability to protect my clients.
Right. Right. Amazing. And so you've gotten into it, and I don't recall the exact number of years, but how long have you been a home inspector now?
Since 1999.
99. So we're in 2018. So coming up on 19 years.
Pretty much.
Right? Yeah. Fantastic.
And prior to that, as a city inspector, you're inspecting homes all day long.
Right. So all these years, can you put a number on how many inspections you've done? So roughly? Give or take 100?
Give or take 100. Well over 2,000.
Whew. Well over 2,000. Fantastic. Again, I really appreciate you sharing the knowledge that you have, because a lot of people, I think, as they go into purchasing a home and whatnot, they're really going to be able to watch a video like this and be able to say, okay, this is how important a home inspection is, right? And be able to find someone, if not you, someone as qualified as you, to make sure that they're getting the right job done. Okay. Now, how important, Jim, is it to have a home inspection before you purchase a home? Now, this is something I know is a big deal. You mentioned the guy who didn't have the contingencies in there. So how big of a deal is it?
Okay. You're going to buy a used car. Okay. You want to buy a used car. Do you simply go to somebody's house and give them a check and ride off with the car? Or do you say, can I take it to a mechanic?
I'm going to take it to a mechanic.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Why aren't you? The guy told you it's a nice car. Why didn't you just pay for it and keep riding?
Well, I don't know anything about cars.
And you don't know anything about homes.
Touché.
So if you're going to buy a home, find yourself a mechanic.
Yeah.
A home mechanic, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Now, in today's market, they will say to you, oh, these houses are going fast. If you go in there with no home inspection contingency, you're going to get the house quicker.
Right.
Okay, so let's say, for example, I'm going to go in, I want this house, I'm going to be willing to give them the asking price, and so are you, okay? You're going to say, I want a home inspection. I'm going to go in and say, I don't want a home inspection contingency.
Right.
Which contract do you think will the seller honor first? The one that doesn't want the home inspection contingency.
Right.
So now you went ahead, you bought it. Oh, I got this house, no home inspection. You moved in, and all hell breaks loose after that. Now, what some people will do is they'll do what they call a pre-offer before you put the offer in. Okay. Before you put the offer in, you get a pre-offer inspection. Now, again, different companies work differently.
Right.
I try to tell my clients, whether you do a full inspection with me or you do a pre-offer with me, if you do a pre-offer with me, it's sort of like a quasi-full inspection.
Okay.
I also tell my clients, if after the pre-offer, you're not confident with the information I've given you, you owe me nothing.
Okay.
Some companies will charge full price. I do not charge full price. I tell my client it's a flat fee of 1 hour. I do not write a report. You take the notes. You can videotape it if you want. Slap on a GoPro if you want. But the whole idea is I'm still going to go into the crawl space. I'm still going to get on top of the roof. I'm still going to look at your equipment system. I'm just not checking outlets and raising windows, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
All this extraneous stuff I'm not going to do. The thing is, tell me the most important thing. Tell me what I can't see. Tell me what's going to hurt me. Tell me what's going to come up and bite me. That's the information I need to know. And then when I'm done with you, if you're satisfied with the information, you can go forward and say to the client, to a seller, I'm going to buy the home without a home inspection contingency because you just had it.
Right.
Now, I have a client, they're buying a house. Let's just, I try to tell them, they say to me, oh, we want the full report. We want the full report. I told them, no, you don't. And you go, yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. I said, sir, you're going to be spending this amount of money with me, and you don't even know you're going to get it. How many times do you want to spend that money with me before you find a house?
Right.
I'll tell you what, let's do the pre-offer the way I'm telling you to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, and then if you get all the information, you can go forward with it. And if you don't get the house, you only lost $175.
Right.
Or do you want to pay me the $350, the $450, the $750? I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I'm begging you not to do it. This one guy said to me, I want the full inspection. I said, okay, let's do this first. Let me do the pre-offer. If that's not satisfying, I'll flip it and do the full inspection for you. He goes, okay. We did the pre-offer, and I said, do you still need the full? He goes, no. But he went ahead and he bought the house, without a home inspection contingency, and he got the house and he's all happy.
Right. Perfect. And that's not something that's very common, right? I know, like you said,
no, some sellers will say, I have sellers out there that will say no inspection contingencies, or they don't want any inspection contingencies. And then there are other sellers out there that will say no inspection contingency and no pre-offer inspections.
Okay.
I'm selling it as is. Now, let's get into what does as is mean?
Right.
I think that the real estate commission, both Maryland and DC, probably Virginia, need to understand that what does as is actually mean?
Mm-hmm.
They'll say we're selling it as is. Well, what does that mean? Well, what you see here is what they're going to do. Right. Well, what if we find a structural damage that you didn't disclose? Is that as is? What if I find a dead body in the attic that you didn't know about? Is that as is?
Right.
What I find is every time I find something that I know that the seller was unaware or didn't declare, the other agent was going to come back. It's being sold as is. I think there ought to be a declaration. The heating system as is, the structure as is, the kitchen as is, the bathroom as is. Tell me what as is is.
Right.
Don't tell me to come in blind. I don't see anything. Everything is as is. No matter what you find, it is as is. Right. That's not fair to the buyer.
Right. Agreed. And I don't think most people really understand what as is as you go through and you do the.
I don't understand what it is. I'm still asking, what does that mean?
Yeah, because generally there's still going to be another negotiation round afterwards anyway. So it's like, but that's another story. So what's the experience that someone should expect? Now, you don't have to go through the whole experience because I know it takes 2 to 4 hours sometimes to go through a home inspection. What's the experience that someone should expect to have when they go through and have their own home inspection?
Okay, every inspector works differently. Okay. There's the inspector that says, I'm going to inspect the house and I'm going to summarize at the end. Mm-hmm. The other inspector says, you can follow me, but I'm not going to get into any conversation with you. And when I'm done, you see what I did and I'm going to summarize with you.
Right.
And then there's the other inspector like myself, where I say to my client, clip onto my belt and stay with me. I start on the outside and I say to my clients, understand the geography around your house. If we understand the geography around the house, meaning where water goes, doesn't go, etc., whether it drains, doesn't drain, you're going to understand what's happening in the basement. So again, I can summarize at the end, or I can educate you as I go along. Now, people will say to me, well, is one better than the other? No, why not? So let the inspector do everything and he summarizes. Did you walk away with full knowledge? Mm-hmm. Or did he say, oh, down in the basement in the corner, there's this crack? You may want to have a structural engineer, and you didn't see the crack. You don't understand the gravity of the crack or fracture,
Right.
which is why I like my clients to be close to me, stay with me. Now, if you walk away, please come back. If you walk away, please come back. You walk away again, I'm moving forward.
Right.
So there are three ways to do an inspection. It doesn't matter whether the guy summarizes it at the end, you follow him and he summarizes, or you get the full education of what am I doing? What am I finding? What am I not finding? What is the importance of what I'm not finding? If you understand all of that, either one of those three, as long as you understand the full condition of the house,
Right.
it doesn't matter which inspector you get, so long as you are educated before you walk out.
Fantastic. Fantastic. As if you haven't given us enough phenomenal information already, do you have any parting advice for the people watching at home?
Always get a sample of a home inspector's report before you hire them, number one. And number two, and nobody pays attention to this one, read the liability part of the contract of your inspector. Here's why you need to focus on that, and I mean focus on it. The report, the contract will read, oh, we're doing all these great things. Read the liability section that basically says, and this is almost across the board, if I failed, if I misrepresent, if I didn't give you this, if I didn't give you that, blah, 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 you take me to court with your signature on this contract here, you only get back the fee you paid. Meaning, you got a $16,000 damage, you call the inspector and he goes, oh, okay, I'll give you back your $275. What do you mean $275? That's a $16,000 thing that you could have seen it, you didn't do anything. And they'll say, yeah, well, okay, I'm sorry, $275. You go to court, it's been challenged in court, and that liability section holds up. Are you 18? Do you know how to read? Did you sign? Give him back his $275.
Right.
My liability section is a little bit different. I try to give my client a year to figure out if I messed up. And in my liability section, I tell them how to live. You want to go to court? Let's go to court. You want to go before an arbitrator? Let's go before an arbitrator. I'm insured. And if I'm proven to be wrong, then I correct.
Right. But
I believe that the owner, the buyer, has the right to challenge you. The consumer has the right to challenge. And if you go with those other contracts, you're basically denying the consumer the right to challenge. That's not fair.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And on that note, Jim, we're going to give you a quick second to let the people know how to find you. I know one way is on Yelp. You have a very, very impressive record. I think we were talking about it earlier. You have 83 reviews now. Only 3 of the 83 are not 5-star. I don't know many companies that can boast to say that they have like a 97, 98, 99%, whatever that is, a really high number of 5-star Yelp reviews. I think if anyone goes on Yelp and they take a look, they'll immediately see, yeah, this is the guy you want to work with. But for those who will go to Yelp and they will come in and say, you know what, I think I want to work with Jim, how can they find you?
Well, they can read the reviews. If you're going to look at the reviews in Yelp, you're going to go to Delgado Associates, or you can text or email me. If you email me questions, concerns, anything, you're going to jimdelgado50@gmail.com. So it's jimdelgado50@gmail.com. You can contact me through phone, 202-439-3100. I do not take voicemail. You can text me or you can email me. I will respond as soon as I can. I work by myself. And people always say, well, who are your associates? I don't know. When I have a problem, I have Vincent Ford. Vincent Ford is a former building chief for DC.
Right.
If I have a problem, I don't understand it, I call Vincent up. Vincent gives me information. I got Jesse on the other side. I got other people on the other side. These are the people I associate myself with to gather the knowledge to help you. Delgado Associates.
There it is. All right, Jim. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. Again, wealth of information. I'm pretty sure you helped a ton of people. by helping out and shooting this video. We'll definitely get out to as many people as possible. And with that, I thank you very much. Again, my name is Jonas. I'm a real estate agent. You can reach me at 571-241-1512, or you can reach me on my email, mitchell.jonas, J1AS, at gmail.com. And yeah, I would look forward to helping you out as well. So Jim, always a pleasure, my friend.
All right, thank
Very
you.
much.
Bye.